Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Jennifer Appy, partner and fractional CMO with Chief Outsiders, and I'm joined today by three amazing colleagues. And we wanted to have a discussion today around maximizing the potential of your organization by embracing diversity and inclusion. So in this day and age where employees really are your first customers, this is really the way that leaders can embrace the thought diversity, the experience diversity in their organizations and attract a broader set of customers, which in turn can be really great for business. So I wanted to share a few stats before we begin. And, there was a Harris poll that found that 81% of Americans felt that corporate America should be reflective of the diversity and in our nation. And because it can gain an understanding of a broader set of customers, reach them, innovate, gain more innovation, improve employee performance, recruit and hire top talent, boost profitability, as well as increase employee retention. So all of those things people feel, and we are making some progress. So Chief reports that nearly 2/3 of companies do provide mentoring programs for women, job succession planning, and gender equity performance metrics. However, they also report in the same article that there is some slippage. If you look at the right-hand side of the chart, you can see that there is an increase in the number of women who are in C-suite roles and board positions. But if you look at the pipeline that's being fed from junior professional positions to senior management to director to VP, you can see that since 2019, there are less women being promoted into those positions on a percentage basis. So what that means is that the pipeline might be dwindling for female leadership in the future. And that's not good. So today I'm joined by some amazing women who've forged excellent careers and are now fractional CMOs at Chief Outsiders. And I wanted to give them a chance to highlight their careers and maybe some of the challenges that they've faced along the way. And in this way, highlight some of the things that, some of the situations that business leaders can address in trying to reverse what we're seeing on that chart. So Anka, perhaps let's start with you.
Yeah, so Anka Chumba here. I have over 25 years of marketing and operations and biz development experience. Love to lead high impact teams. I've been fortunate and blessed enough to have a career that has spanned a number of different countries, from the US to the UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore. Also have had great success in doing marketing in a variety of different industries, including financial services, tech SaaS, hospitality, and retail. And when I'm not doing that, I get to mentor and coach startups and CEOs and early ventures around the world. So thanks so much for having me.
Great.
So
we're done. Go ahead.
Great. Anka, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Nope.
Okay.
You're all good.
Terrific. So I'm Dawn Weary. I'm a partner and fractional CMO. I've been with Chief Outsiders for a little over 8 years. My background, I actually started my career in engineering before I realized there was a benefit to taking my obsession with data analytics and problem solving to marketing instead. So since then, I've had VP or CMO roles at various industrial companies. I also have focused on real estate and basically any company that's trying to move away from the traditional sales model or magnify the impact of sales with marketing and often doesn't know how to do that or what that's getting for them. And when I look back at my career, I know we're talking a lot about mentoring, but one of the things I think is there's an old adage that rings true in life and career that a few pivotal moments really make your life or your career. And a lot of those for me around mentoring. It's why I left engineering, is that I didn't see myself in it, and being able to be in marketing where I've had a lot of mentors has made a big difference. And I know we'll talk more about that.
That's great. Erica?
Yeah, I'm Erica Rosenthal, and I'm area managing partner and CMO for Chief Outsiders. I've been with the organization a couple of years, and I think that I'm on my fourth real career as I look at it. It's been a very nonlinear path. And I started my first decade for a Fortune 500 company. And then I went the entrepreneurial route as a result of a project from my MBA program I never had any intention of doing, but did. And I opened a chain of med spas, founded and ran that for a decade. Back in the days when I still had to explain what a med spa was. And then went to work for private equity as their person going into organizations to help them scale and grow, and did that for a decade. So now the fractional route, I get happier with each decade as I learn a little bit. I'm always learning. And on the topic of mentors, build on what Dawn said. I definitely had mentors from the very beginning, and I wasn't shy about asking for them. And I took the bits and pieces approach, meaning there wasn't one mentor that I had, but I'd find somebody who was really good in sales if I wanted to be good in sales, or really good at public speaking if that was it. And I would watch them, study them, ask them for tips, ask them if they would coach me in that particular area. And I'd only do one or two things at a time. But I think that that approach really helped me and exposed me to a lot of different mentors, both men and women, as I was coming along.
That's great. The importance of mentors, we will definitely touch more on that in a moment. But in my career, I've been in ed tech, helped bring a lot of really innovative products for parents and kids to market, and ended up at Adobe. Helped launch Creative Cloud, and then started consulting for smaller companies using my SaaS marketing experience and helping building their marketing teams. And in my experience, imposter syndrome has always been a huge thing. So I am having imposter syndrome just listening to the three of you. So, and we'll get to that again soon. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that each of you might have faced in your careers. And Anga, let's start with you.
Yeah, I would say, what could be a challenge is finding the appropriate path for you, right? And it's difficult if you don't have the right folks guiding you. You probably wind up somewhere and maybe that's not the right fit. I remember starting my career in industrials and warehousing, more within marketing and sales. But recognizing, look, if I wanted to move up in the company, I needed to learn more about operations, warehouse, supply chain. I needed that experience. And I remember a number of leaders thinking, I didn't have enough grit. Like I'm sure they thought, how is this, young girl in her mid-20s going to operate in a warehouse, a 1 million square foot warehouse? But I had two senior leaders that encouraged me. And this is at a point when I got into law school. I thought I was going to go to law school, but, took sort of a gap year to check out, sort of the business world. But I think the beauty of that is they saw something in me that maybe I didn't really quite see in myself. And I think if done right, the challenge that is there can be something that propels you, right? That can be something that pushes you to do things and stretch you in ways that you didn't think it was possible. I certainly didn't think in college that I would be leading a warehouse of 30 people, having a tugger and a forklift license and building executive leadership skills very, very young. I mean, at the time I was the youngest supervisor. And I would say, I've been able to have such a fruitful career in a variety of different countries, in a variety of different industries, because of that discipline of learning the operations and the gut of a business as a way to just develop strategies around marketing and ops that make sense. So I would say, there are definitely, challenges in that, sometimes people can have a perception of you and put you in a box. But I think that's why mentors are so critical, because mentors can often see something in you that other people don't see and push you to move ahead. And that can be the game changer for your career.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Can I just double down on that for a second, Jen? Because I agree. I think one of the big things, whether it's mentors, leaders, etc., that I've seen throughout my career is my best mentors have seen something in me I didn't see in myself. I remember at one point someone telling me I was strategic. I couldn't have told you at that moment what strategic was. I couldn't have defined it if I tried. So it made me learn it. And then suddenly I realized what I was doing and could lean into it more. And I would have never gotten there if someone else hadn't said it.
Mhm.
A good thing for leaders to recognize. Tell people that.
Absolutely.
And
Dawn,
I'm
what are some of the challenges that you might have faced in your career?
I'm sorry, was that for me, Jen or Erica?
Yes, sorry. Or Erica, were you going to jump in? Go ahead.
Well, some of the challenges that I faced in my career, I think were mostly self-imposed. Those are the biggest ones that come to mind. And I'll share one story with you because it really was a turning point for me about 10 years into my career with a Fortune 500 company. And I had taken every opportunity that came my way. I just didn't say no. So I relocated 9 times in 10 years. And I let my drive get the best of me. There came a point where I was running the Southeast call centers for a telecom company in 3 different, well, actually 6 states, but traveling 3 different places, getting my executive MBA at night. And I imposed this on myself. I thought, well, if the astronauts can go without sleep, so can I. So I started weaning myself from sleep till I got down to 4 hours a night. Not the smartest thing, and I can't believe I'm admitting this, but I just had this drive to accomplish more. And then one night I was driving after my MBA school that got out at 10 o'clock. I was taking a 6-hour drive. And about 1 a.m., I fell asleep at the wheel. And I woke up just before I went over a cliff, the mountains, spun completely out. Nobody was on the road. I remember sitting there with my heart racing, thinking, this probably isn't the best decision that I've made. I almost destroyed my health at one point just because of that drive. And I got to a place where I started really questioning what is success to me. And that became a turning point. I actually became an entrepreneur then with the drive to give other people permission to take care of themselves because had such a profound effect on me. And that's how I got into healthcare, where I've been the last, number of years. And just changing my definition of a success. But it's something that I still battle today. I think that it's in my DNA, maybe from hearing as a child that I have to work 3 times harder than everybody else to get ahead. And I would probably change that narrative now. I definitely, for my kids, I'd say be really intentional about your definition of success and really what it is that makes you happy, and just reframe it a different way. And I am more about how can I help versus what can I accomplish these days? It's less me-centric and more about service to others. And I find that more rewarding. I had to learn the hard way.
And I think you mentioned earlier, Erica, mentors helped you with that too, right?
Absolutely. Mentors help me with that. Quick other story on that, or?
Go ahead.
Okay. I had a mentor. I didn't understand this, but these were the most profound words shared with me by a mentor when I was 21 years old. And I just didn't know what it meant. But I met with the vice president, who was a woman in telecom. There weren't a lot of those in the 80s. And I said, how did you get to be so successful? And she said, well, she goes, I started becoming successful at the point in time where I quit becoming career self-centric. And I started focus on helping the careers of those around me.
Mhm.
And I thought, well, that's really interesting. And then I kind of blew it off because I said, well, you have to get there in order to impact others. And that's my lesson. You don't. I think my lesson that took me about 20 years to really fully appreciate those words, where you can focus on helping others around you anytime and try to be a positive impact on them. And in a way, by helping others, it's just
Right.
it all, the rest of it falls naturally into place.
Mhm.
Over to you all.
Yeah. Anka or John, do you want to comment on the role of mentors? You mentioned it earlier. I'd love to hear more stories about how they've helped you.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I remember very early in my career, I had worked for a large financial services company, and was on a sort of strategy biz dev team. And there was this one SVP, he was a rock star SVP, very highly regarded, been at the company 35 plus years. And for me, I wanted to get more sales account management experience, but the roles were taken. And even then, I mean, it was such a process to get into those type of groups. But one of the SVPs who led a lot of the verticals just started to notice my initiative. So I tried everything possible to get on projects, to help some of the mid-level managers on the team, anything I could do to just show that I had an interest, hoping that maybe one day a role, would open and then, I could apply and have a great shot. But over a few months, this SVP just started to take a notice and started giving me projects. And, whatever he gave me, I did it to the best of my ability. It started, pulling together stats or, running, numbers and building out financial models for him. Then it became, hey, I have this, board presentation. Can you put it together for me? And I would do that. And then he was like, hey, I have a pricing model. Can you work on that? And slowly but surely, over some time, I remember he called me up one Saturday morning in November, and he was just like, hey, I have this, big negotiation, the president of this Fortune 500 company. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, really? And then I was like, yes, sure. And, probably my naivete, I was just like, oh, well, but, I don't have a corporate card. How am I going to get my flight? How am I going to, you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking about sort of, and that just tells you how quite junior I was. He was just, oh yeah, my assistant will take care of everything. So in 24 hours, I was on this plane going to this negotiation, and I was sitting next to this SVP who wasn't even my direct boss, right? And he was sort of this, unofficial mentor of mine. And so, we wind up, doing the negotiation. We did the presentation. He let me present a few slides. He let me present my financial model to a couple of board members. And that was it. I felt like it was the quickest 36 hours and probably amongst the most stressful 36 hours of my life. And then, he sent me a really lovely, note. He put a note on my desk, like, great job. I knew you could do it, keep the good work up. And just so that, we won that business. And a lot of it was thanks to your help. So really lovely. And honestly, I would have been fine with that. Like that would have been more than enough, from this mentor, especially being, fairly junior. So, about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years passed by. And he reaches out to me, he sort of comes over to my desk. He's like, hey, can you come to my office? And I was like, sure. So we're chatting in his office. He was just like, yeah, there's this chief of staff role at the vice chairman's office, and you should apply. First of all, I didn't even know that role existed. Second of all, my group wasn't usually the ones that were tapped for such a role. He was like, yeah, I talked to the hiring leader. I talked to the interview panel, and he was like, I think you should do it. He was like, this is going to help your career. You should do it. and I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, are you sure? I haven't been at the company real long. He was like, no, you have what it takes to do it. And so I applied and eventually got it. And he was right. I mean, I think getting that role completely changed the course of my career, without a doubt. Right. And just the level of exposure, and just the experience, being at the table of, a Fortune 500, Fortune 100 company, and that level of seniority. I don't think, there aren't that many things that could beat that, but that would not have happened if I didn't have, a mentor, an unofficial mentor, to see, the quality of my work, how willing I was to learn, how coachable and teachable I was. And you would think, and this was a great lesson, your mentor doesn't have to be the person that is officially assigned to you. Like, this was an instance where, this was an SVP, and he'd been in a couple of meetings with me, and I was trying, hard to do great work and work on additional stuff. And he took an interest in me and wanted to help me with my career. But that goes to show you, I mean, mentors, especially early in the career, is just so critical. And it really can be anyone that is willing to be intentional about supporting you and coaching you and encouraging you along the way.
Absolutely.
I would add to that, if I look back at mentors and how they've helped me, I think the biggest thing is they've helped me see what was valuable to the company beyond getting stuff done, right? It wasn't about getting my tasks done and my list of things to do, but really, I remember one talking to me when I first started in market research and talking about the fact that it isn't about getting the data. It's about helping your client or the business you're working with understand what to do with that data, and things like that. And then putting you in opportunities very similar to what Anka was talking about, where I could see where it was a meeting 3 or 4 levels up. I had no right to be there, but getting me into them so I could start to see how the executives talked and what they cared about, and start to see how my work impacted that rather than getting mired in the data. That helped a lot.
Yeah,
that's stories.
Yeah, well, and that's a great example of how a mentor can really step in and really make a difference. And I know that you've done a lot of that in your career with others on your team, which is fantastic. So, one of the things I think about myself is, don't wait for a mentor to appear or for a mentor to present themselves. I know for me that I worked my network. I reached out to alumni who were at companies or in roles that I was interested in. I set up 30-minute cold call meetings in order to just have a knowledge sharing session. Tell me about your career. Tell me what kinds of things you felt were pivotal in the path to where you are today, and what kinds of things could I be working on that would help get me there. And I think that information early on can shape your thoughts about what a career might look like. So again, don't wait and be proactive. I think that some of those experiences are what helped develop my own market research and business development skills by doing that for myself. I wanted to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, because I think that is sometimes an unseen challenge that women especially face in their careers. I remember once I heard a male colleague say that, he was being promoted into this position and he wasn't ready for it, but didn't matter. He was going to act like he was the sales manager until he kind of earned the role. And I remember hearing him speak and think, wow, you can do that? You should do that? And then all of a sudden I realized, and this shows how junior I was, that, I remember thinking to myself, wow, I'm no longer in grade school where someone's going to seek me out because I'm smart and I do good work and reward me for it, right? I'm going to have to shape my own path, and maybe I'm going to have to act the part before someone gives it to me. And that was really pivotal for me. So let's talk about imposter syndrome and maybe how mentors might have helped you with that challenge.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that one because I think, Jen, like you said, imposter syndrome in the non-clinical sense is something we all have to some degree in situations and to differing degrees. I mean, I still feel it sometimes today. I welcome it as an opportunity to learn. And I think the most important thing is to recognize that this is a self-limiting belief. And it falls into a category of many self-limiting beliefs that we can have. And we all face it, whether we recognize that or not. I always come back to intentionality, that's the best approach. So for me, if I hear that little voice in my head saying, oh, I don't really know how to do that, or, or my God, this is an impressive group. How did I get here? I catch myself and I say, you know what, I belong here, and let's see what I can learn and how I can help someone. And I just change the narrative a little bit, and it gives me perspective to march on. Something Anka said earlier, I think was good, and that's having the willingness to be coachable. That's where you find mentors. Mentors enjoy coaching people who are coachable, but if somebody has that driving need to be the smartest person in the room, it may not work out always. So my advice would be, don't let perfection get in progress.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting because I think we've played with this a little bit, but someone had once told me, don't think your way into a new way of acting, act your way into a new way of thinking. And that has been, for me, I had a issue at one point where I felt like I'd been put in a group where I didn't know enough, so I didn't speak up, and I got called out by one of my direct reports for it because it was failing them. And so I got to do something different. And so it was just, I made a commitment every meeting I was going to speak up, even if it was just a question, just a little something. And that got me in the habit. And now you all know I always have an opinion about everything. So that whole after way to know way of thinking works really well.
Yeah.
Well, we're out of time, but perhaps as a wrap up, I'll just read off a couple of stats to everyone about the importance of embracing inclusion and diversity in organizations. So according to Deloitte and McKinsey, when employees think their organization is committed and supported to diversity, they feel included, and revenue increases 83%. And an inclusive organization is 2 times more likely to exceed financial targets, more likely to be high performing, more likely to be agile and innovative, and more likely to achieve better business outcomes. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for their attention today. Hopefully our stories can help illustrate the types of things that can be helpful in an organization to maximize everyone's potential. So, and I would be remiss to end without saying that November 19th of this year is International Men's Day, which supports the physical and mental health for men and encouraging role models for young boys and men. So I encourage you to tune back in to listen to our male colleagues then. Thank you so much, Erica, Anka, and Dawn. Appreciate your conversation today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.